We're going to begin with the book of Ecclesiastes, and the idea is to go through to chapter 4, but that might not be possible. We're going to go as much into it as we can. None of the others are here. You're waiting patiently, right? All right, let me start. Now, the Ecclesiastes, if we look at how the book begins, it says the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Israel. So here you have call it the superscription, if you wish, the introduction. So it begins with establishing a couple of things. Just at verse 1. Number 1, it establishes the preacher or the teacher. And what we're going to find here is that the central concern in the book of Ecclesiastes is life, the meaning of life. What's the significance? What's the purpose of life? All right. So Solomon is suggesting here in the book of Ecclesiastes, what is the lasting significance? What's the lasting purpose? What's the point of life, basically? All right. We can look at the book of Ecclesiastes in terms of two major sections. I'll give the outline, but there are two major sections here. First of all, the teacher or the preacher, he goes on a search, an investigation, if you will, into wisdom and its meaning. Solomon is trying to find out what is the meaning and purpose of life. All right. So he goes on a search for wisdom and for meaning, but what he finds in the first half of the book is that this is frustrating. So there is a sense of frustration in the first half of the book as to what is the purpose of all of this. Now, when we get to the second half of the book, we're going to see a noticeable shift. And what's the focus here? The focus here is looking at wisdom itself. And what he is doing here is moving away from the frustration of life and looking forward to trust in God. Life is frustrating. Life is disappointing. I was expecting it to be. I did all of this and it didn't work out for me. What I now have to realize, and what I'm now realizing in the second half of the book, is that it is trust in God. It is God's character that is, and it is God's way, it is God's word, God's commandment that is going to give meaning to life. All right. So to begin with, as we look at the introduction. One, we see in verse 1, the superscription. We're told that this is the word of the preacher. He's the son of David, and he's the king in Jerusalem. Two halves of the book. Solomon is on a search. Solomon is on a mission. What's the meaning of life? What's the value of life? And in his search in the first half of the book, he becomes frustrated because life is disappointing. Life is meaningless. There is no purpose to life. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So in the second half of the book, he now comes to realize that the true value and meaning of life rest in God and his character, God and his word. All right? So there is, if we're going to do a broad picture of the book, what we're finding here is that there is the book is structured in this way, that there is a movement within the book from disillusionment, disappointment, frustration, to one of reorientation, one of transformation. Okay, so he's moving, what a hopeless life it is, to the point where life now has meaning if it is lived by God's word. All right, so if we look at verse 2 of chapter 1, vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. That's how he begins. Now, if you look at chapter 12 and verse 13, he says, the end of the matter has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So that's where he, at the end of the book, he ends up with acknowledging. All right? Now, here is another, in terms of aspect of the book, as we look at the structure of the book, the overall overarching theme of the book. Then now we're going to go have here is in the first half of the book, Solomon is saying wisdom is inadequate. It is inadequate to explain the meaning of life. It is inadequate in explaining why wealth, or put it this way, wisdom cannot adequately explain the meaning of life, the existence of life, and it cannot really explain why wealth and pleasure and fame does not satisfy. Wisdom cannot do that. That's Solomon. What he does in the other aspect of the book is this. He acknowledges at the end of it that God and God's word is the real purpose of life. All right? So, how does the book begin? Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanity. But now, how does it end? Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. Why? Because God is going to bring every work into judgment. So the book concludes in chapter 12 with this emphasis. Number one, fearing God. Number two, obeying the commandments of God is what life is all about. That's Solomon.